Hello, I'm Daniel. I wanted to come on here and just talk about a few things. First of all, I want to express I'm ready for this COVID thing to be over. And I know a lot of people are. A lot of people have a lot of reasons why they're ready for this to be over. I'm tired of it taking the amount of my time it's taking. Um, and I know maybe you don't know this. I spend more time tracking COVID cases in the building and telling people about COVID cases in the building than I do anything else. And so that's pretty exhausting. I hear that rumor sometimes people say the union works more for people on safety leave than they do for us in the building. Well, I can say I don't because I'm tracking COVID cases in the building, and that is a whole lot of what I'm doing. So I think we're all tired of it, though. I think tensions are high. I think people are uncomfortable and unhappy. And I think we're all very tired of COVID for various reasons. So that is where we're at right now. And so right now, I want to talk about conditions in the building for people in the building. So you probably know by now, a new cleaning method was introduced suddenly. A new cleaner, and it's called Oxivir 516. OXIVIR 516 concentrate. Great name, right? And what we're told, and my research does support this, is that it requires less ventilation than the previous cleaner, and it's really not that harmful to be exposed to. So that is why, again, suddenly, management started relocating very small groups of employees instead of, entire wings or entire departments or half of wings or whatever. It seems like they've done various things and it's not been that consistent. But now they're just relocating like very small groups. And that was, of course, quite alarming when it suddenly happened because they didn't tell the union, they didn't tell employees, they just started using a new cleaner and changed their procedure. And our chapter was going to have a meeting with Lori Mings this week, and I was going to ask about that, and it got rescheduled. So I'm disappointed, but believe me that we're going to ask, hey, why be better, basically, because the truth is, and this applies to most of the things I'm going to talk about today, is my feeling is management has a responsibility to communicate better, because the truth is, it shouldn't be up to me to tell you that they're doing what they need to keep you safe, or it shouldn't be up to me to tell you, oh, well, they're moving less people because they're using a new cleaner. That shouldn't be my job. They should be doing that, and it's alarming that they're not. It's alarming that they're not communicating. It's alarming that they don't seem to have a plan to convince employees that they're safe. They don't. And it's certainly not my job to convince you they're keeping you safe, right? So why aren't they trying to convince you you're safe? And that I don't know. And I know some employees in the building think it's perfectly safe, and other employees are just scared every day, right? And everything in between those things is going on. Our building is just like America. Some people think the virus isn't that serious, isn't that dangerous. Some people think it's going to kill them, right? And everything in between those views exists in our building. Our building's a real microcosm for America. And the thing is, the big problem I see is just that management doesn't seem, upper management, that is, not your friend who's your frontline manager, but upper management doesn't seem invested in explaining to you what's happening and establishing clear rules for what happens when and why. And I get it, and I'm going to hit this point again later, I'm sure. There was no plan for how to deal with pandemics. There wasn't. So this just happened, just like it happened to plenty of other agencies and businesses. This just happened suddenly, and our agency had to figure out how to deal with it, and our union had to figure out how to deal with it, and there was no preparation. That said, if there's another pandemic, I hope there's a plan in place, but there was no preparation for this. The problem, and we can understand that, and we can certainly be very patient for the first few months of this, right? But now it's been going on 9 months. Is that right? Have we really been in this 9 months? Just over 9 months. And if there's a clear plan on the agency's part, they're not sharing it. They're not answering when we ask questions, and they're not sharing it. And again, I really think what the agency should do is have hire someone like me to just be present and answer questions and present to you and convince you that you're safe, because that's what they're not doing. They're not convincing employees that they're safe. And because they're not doing that, I'm sure the work is suffering. And I'm sure people in the building are getting very angry, bitter, upset, all these emotions, because they're not being made to feel safe. And if the agency does feel like you're safe, it's sort of their responsibility to on some level convince you, rather than just what we see, which is just things happening, right? We just see things happening, and we see them sort of being dodgy about sharing information. And again, they shouldn't be doing that either. They should be making things very clear, and I don't understand why they're not. And you don't understand why they're not either. And that we have had now not quite 100 cases, but nearly 100, right? And the truth is, my sense is maybe 3 people have caught COVID at work. Maybe 3. Not very many. What we have not seen much is this, and I get that question like, hey, I had contact with this person that had COVID. Why aren't they having me quarantine? And what has not yet happened, and I generally ask that person, hey, tell me if you get sick. And it has not yet happened that a person in that situation has gotten sick. It has not happened that someone has come to me and said, hey, I think I was exposed at work, and they later told me they were sick. That hasn't happened. So that tells us that the masks and the social distancing are working pretty well. And again, I do think there are 2 or 3 people that did catch it at work. But in the scheme of things, with the number of cases we've had, that's not very many, which means these people are getting it other places. Our city's not in lockdown. Our state's not in lockdown, right? People are going out and doing things which they are free to do. They're free to spend time with friends. They're free to go to stores. They're even free to go to restaurants and bars. All sorts of things are open now. And we've had holidays with people seeing their families. So the cases in the building are going to keep happening. They just are. And sometimes people suggest like they should just close down the building for 2 months. That's not going to do anything, because people are rarely catching it in the building. I won't say never, but they are rarely catching it in the building. So if they close down for 2 weeks after a COVID case, all that would happen is in 2 weeks and 1 day, well, probably not that soon, but within the next week of coming back, there'd be new COVID cases. That is because we live in a place with a lot of COVID cases. We live in a hotspot, and actually, there's a lot of hotspots in this country, and we live in one of them. And I'm not here to defend the agency's actions, because I think they need to do a way better job than they're doing. But I am saying that it's very clear to me why they're not shutting down whole wings and why they're not sending teams of people home. They don't feel like they need to. They don't feel like they need to. And I want to make this very clear. If any of the following have happened to you, please reach out to me. If someone on your team had COVID and you got COVID 2 weeks later, reach out to me and tell me. If And then the second thing, vaguely related, if you were near the cleaning process and you got sick, reach out to me and tell me. They are telling us that this new cleaner doesn't make people sick. They are telling us that it doesn't require a lot of ventilation like the other one, and so they don't have to evacuate big areas. So if we find plenty of evidence that that's not true, then we will address that, because we don't want people getting sick. But the most alarming aspect of that, of the new cleaning process, is just that it suddenly changed. I suddenly got a message from someone that said, hey, they're cleaning now 10 feet away from me, and they sent like 7 people home, away, not home. They're not sending people home anymore, it seems. They sent like 7 people away, and they're cleaning 10 feet away from me. Is there something different happening? And it's only because we got that message that we investigated and found out there's a new cleaner. That is crazy. That is crazy. They're shirking their responsibility by not sharing that information with you. With you. It shouldn't even be their responsibility to share it with us. They should be sharing it with people in the building. Hey, we're spraying this new thing. Because what if someone has, it's probably not the case, but if someone has a known allergy to this chemical Oxiver, it could be really harmful to them, and they would have had no idea if employees didn't tell me and we didn't reach out to management to get that information. It was like 2 days before we got it, but we did get it. But if an employee didn't reach out to me, if our communication system didn't work the way it does, we would have just not found out. We would have just not found out. It would have just been, oh, they changed their cleaning procedure. Oh, well, right? And it's not okay. And so to me, if they're doing everything to make employees safe, they also need to do way, way more to make employees feel safe. Because, again, employees that don't feel safe are panicking. Employees that don't feel safe are calling in sick a lot and wasting their leave. Maybe overusing their leave, maybe using it more than they need to because they're panicking, and then they'll have no leave at some point, right? And employees that are afraid don't perform. Employees that are afraid don't perform. So really, like, why do we not want our employees to perform, right? So, my sense is that our building is not less safe than Walmart, but it's just that people have to go there every day and they're not getting encouragement or information where they should be getting it. That is my feeling on the matter. And people ask sometimes, do you think they have cases that they're covering up? That they're, cleaning and evacuating people and just not telling employees, not telling the union? My answer to that is no, but I have heard of one that I'm following up on where I think that might have potentially happened. That being said, yeah, if you're evacuating, always let me know. Always let me know. We're trying to track evacuations. We're trying to track also time frames. That is, sometimes people tell me, hey, we evacuated at 9 a.m. and then at 11:30 an email goes out that says, hey, this cleaning's happening, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's basically already happening, but the email goes out. And we're trying to figure out what their plan is, if there is one, because again, inconsistency is ruling right now. And so that is where we're at. But again, most important point, if you get COVID and someone on your team had COVID 2 weeks ago, please let me know. We want to be able to prove it if someone catches it at work. That will be a big and powerful tool for us to use if someone catches it at work. We haven't had that opportunity to prove it yet, but we are hoping to. And the truth is, a lot of people that get these COVID cases, an overwhelming majority of them, they don't want to tell people they have a COVID diagnosis. I think some people are afraid of being judged. You know, like every time there's a COVID case, somebody says, why did they come to work after they were tested? And it seems like the people saying these things aren't really looking at the dates, because sometimes it'll be like 15 days ago this person was in the building and they've tested positive for COVID. Well, they probably didn't come to work after they took a test, right? And some other times it will be like this person was last in the building yesterday, and that's where that question is a very good question. But the majority of them are like a week, 5 days, something like that out, when, you know, a test takes, I mean, there's different kinds of tests, but I know the COVID test I took was a 3-day test. So 3 days later, I knew I did not have COVID. And I've heard that like some people are doing 10-day tests. Don't do that. Like, find a 3-day test or a rapid test. But anyway, yeah, when it says like this person hasn't been in the building for 10 days, well, they probably didn't take the test and then come to work. They probably did stay home, and they've been just using their leave, hoping they test positive so they can get emergency COVID leave. Or maybe they have plenty of leave and they're not hoping they test positive. I don't know. But it's usually not a situation of someone taking a COVID test, thinking they have COVID, and coming to work. So that's not usually happening. That being said, though, yeah, my most important thing, I'll repeat it one more time. If someone on your team gets COVID and 2 weeks later you test positive for COVID, please tell me. Please tell me. I put out a call when we found out a guard a security personnel. We don't know that for sure that it was a guard, but I found out someone that worked in the guard station area tested positive for COVID. And I put out that call asking people, hey, were you there? Especially weather and safety leave people came in to get laptops that week. And I put out that question, hey, were you there? And people reached out to me and they said, yes, I was there. And I said, okay, if you get sick, tell me. And that time has passed now. The 2 weeks have passed. None of those people told me they got sick. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. Of course, they may not have told me, but that tells me that people are not usually catching it at work. We have so many cases because we're in Missouri, not because the agency isn't doing enough. We have some cases because the agency isn't doing enough, but most of them are because we live in Missouri. But that said, I think they need to be better about having sanitizer in places. I wish we could get temperature checks, and more than anything, I really want hazard pay for employees in the building. And it seems like the agency doesn't want to do that, so our next step is reaching out to Congress and asking them to pass something for it, because our employees deserve it, and they're going in every day. I get to stay at home and telework most of the time, and I'm getting the same pay and I'm building the same leave, right? Everything's the same. And I think people in the building right now that are scared, that really don't want to go to work, or that are just dealing with a general anxiety in the place that I'm sure is there, deserve something. Anything. Not anything. I mean, we don't want to settle for something silly, but they deserve something, right? And they're not getting anything. And that's troubling to me. So, that being said, now I want to talk about teleworking. Teleworkers. Our agency has activated more telework than was ever thought possible. This is an area where the agency is in many ways succeeding. People are, in my department, started teleworking early on, and really people said it's been conventional wisdom at the IRS that almost no one can telework. We can't make this widespread. And look at this, a pandemic taught us we can. But a few things. One, if you're teleworking, your manager is not supposed to use Skype as a reason to say you're not at work, to get you in trouble, to give you a talking to. If they send you a message and they don't answer it, and you don't answer it, that is one thing. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about managers who reach out to their employee and they say, hey, you were away on Skype or you were busy on Skype for like 2 hours. What's your deal? They shouldn't be doing that. That's in the contract. They're not supposed to use that. They're not supposed to use Skype to take attendance. And some managers, unfamiliar with the contract, I think, are doing that. And when that happens, if they really take action against you, let us know, because that is something we can fight. The contract's pretty clear on this. Another thing, if you have computer problems, there is computer downtime code they can use. That being said, though, if you have repeated computer problems, they can ask you to come work in the building. So be careful. And I would suggest, please, no one fake a computer problem. Please don't. Please don't. I believe they will figure that out. So be honest. Yes, we have computer problems, and as long as they're not happening all the time, they should let you take downtime for that. And that's something we can address if we need to, because, the internet, it's unpredictable at times. And the truth is, the IRS network wasn't really prepared for all this. This happened very suddenly, right? So we're glad to say they are activating more people for telework, more and more all the time. And that's a good thing, because I think some of these people with serious health conditions are going to have no choice but to work soon. I do believe that. And one way or another, it's coming. So if you're given the opportunity to telework, that's a very good thing for you. That's a very good thing for you. So now, finally, I'm going to talk about weather and safety leave. And I want to express, first of all, there's a reason why it's called weather and safety leave. This system we are using was not created to deal with pandemics. It was created to deal with snowstorms. It was created to deal with snowstorms. And anytime we see gaps in the system of weather and safety leave, and we do plenty, right? Anytime we see gaps in that, well, that's because it wasn't created for this. It was created for snowstorms. And I'm saying that because it's flawed. The weather and safety leave system being used to address the pandemic is flawed. I'm very curious, because a new contract is going to be negotiated next year, and next year's almost here. I'm very curious if there will be new provisions for pandemics, because the union and the agency, as I said already, we're not prepared. We're not prepared. So it's not really in the contract. We are using part of the contract to address this, but it's not really in there. And I also want to express the purpose of weather and safety leave is to keep people who think they are going to die if they get COVID at home. That's the purpose. The purpose is not to give people a free ride, and I know some people think that's what's happening, and the truth is there are gaps in the system, and maybe some people are getting away with something. I don't know. But the purpose is to keep people who think they will die if they get COVID at home. And the truth is, it's not going to last much longer. And I don't have any insider information. I only have the rumors I'm hearing, but I feel like the writing is on the wall that everyone's going to be stood up for telework, or everyone's going to return to work. They've started calling people's doctors, and they've actually caught some people with allegedly fake doctor notes. And by the way, if you're on weather and safety leave with a fake doctor note, you should call your manager and say you want to return to work, because that is not something to mess with. That is not a fight. If you have a fake doctor's note, you're not going to win the fight to keep your job, I think. And I've also seen people accused of fake doctor's notes when I don't think the doctor note is fake. So there's that going on. And I hear rumors once in a while, somebody says, I think these people on weather and safety leave are getting other jobs or going on vacations. if they're getting another job, the agency's going to find them and they're going to be fired. That's a very easy thing for the agency to prove because we are the IRS, right? So I don't know if the people I've talked to on weather and safety leave are people that are legitimately afraid for their lives and have serious conditions. That being said, are people on weather and safety leave that maybe aren't afraid? I don't know. I can't speak to that. But if you know someone is abusing weather and safety leave, tell on them. Tell on them because they shouldn't. The truth is, anyone that's abusing weather and safety leave is making everyone on weather and safety leave look bad, right? And I know a guy with cancer. And I really don't want him to go to work. I really want the agency to take care of him. And it sort of scares me that, someone abusing the weather and safety leave could actually ruin it for everyone and could ruin it for this guy I know that has cancer. That's a scary thing to think about. But again, the truth is, the end is coming. I don't believe it's coming next week. I've heard that rumor from several sources. I don't believe it's coming next week. I don't believe on Friday they're going to call people on weather and safety leave and tell them, hey, report Monday or you're fired. I don't believe that's going to happen. But I do believe weather and safety leave, the situation's going to change. The situation's going to change. And this is my number one advice. If you are on weather and safety leave, if you are one of those people sitting at home during your tour of duty, be prepared to answer your phone. Be prepared to answer your phone. What I have seen is people get in trouble for not being reachable. You have a responsibility to be completely reachable by the agency during your tour of duty. You have a responsibility to be completely reachable by the agency during your tour of duty. And if you're not completely reachable, they can use that against you. So answer your phone. I have this habit of I never answer my phone because I get like spam calls. I get like, hey, your car extended warranty, blah, blah, blah. Or, that like, hello, there's a warrant against you. These fake calls that I think a lot of people get. I get those. So I have a habit of not answering my phone. Especially if what pops up is a number rather than a name, right? If it's somebody I know, sometimes I answer it. Sometimes I don't though. But I think a lot of people have that habit. And I'm telling you, if you are on weather and safety leave, you should not do what I do. You should not screen your calls. You should answer because they may not call you on an agency phone line and action may be taken against you if you're not 100% available. Action may be taken against you. So if you're on weather and safety leave, answer your phone. And you should expect to be called in the next few weeks, if not this week, okay? So if you're on weather and safety leave, answer your phone. They're going to use it against you. And if you're on weather and safety leave and they call you and say, hey, we're setting you up for telework, your answer should be, if they're saying, we're setting you up for telework so you don't have to come to the building, we know you feel unsafe, blah, 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 your answer needs to be, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. And if they say, hey, come in on this day to get your laptop, you need to say yes. You need to do that because pushing back is going to lead to consequences. Or it could anyway. I would suggest, my big suggestion is, if you don't have internet in your home and they say, hey, we want to stand you up for telework, do you have internet? My suggestion is you say, no, but I'm getting it this week. Because for a vast majority of people, and I know some people may live like really far away from the building and they maybe don't have, some people may live in an area where they only have one internet provider and it's kind of crappy. And I do understand that exists, but an overwhelming majority of people are not in that situation. So you can get the internet. And I know you feel like you shouldn't have to. But I think a good way to protect yourself is to just do it. Just do it. Get the internet. Recognize that this is temporary, and when it's declared that the pandemic's over, or when it's declared that weather and safety leave is over, they're going to end your telework and bring you back anyway for most people. So just get the internet for a little while. That's my suggestion. I can't tell you have to do it. I have heard of people agitating and being like, I can't afford the internet, blah, blah, blah. And I've heard of the agency giving out hotspots to some of those people. And I've heard of the agency completely refusing to offer hotspots to other people. There's not consistency on this process. So my suggestion is you just get the internet. I think that we've had weather and safety leave for a long time. People have been out of the office for a long time. And if the agency is trying anything to keep you out of the office, you should take that, because what could happen to you is they say, hey, we're going to set you up for telework. And you say, oh, I don't have internet. And then in a few weeks, they end weather and safety leave and they say, hey, you have to come back. And maybe you don't want to. And you're not going to have the opportunity to say, oh, I'll get internet now. Don't worry about it. I can telework. They're not going to let you get away with that. They're going to make you return to the building. So if you are on weather and safety leave and you're not teleworking and you don't have internet in your house, it's a really good idea to get it. It's a really good idea to get it so that you can say yes when they ask you to do things. And it's the same thing. If your manager says, hey, we have to have a phone call every week at this day and time, just say yes and do it. Just say yes and do it. You need to really understand that the agency is looking for ways to get you working. And you need to be grateful for that. There are plenty of people that just really wish they could telework that aren't being given that opportunity. And if you're given that opportunity, please jump at the chance. Please jump at the chance, because you may not be offered the opportunity again, and you may be told to report to the building before you want to. So the best thing you can do for yourself is say yes to anything your manager asks you to do, unless it's return to the building. That's the best thing you can do for yourself, is not push back. And if you're one of the really unlucky ones who your manager has asked you, hey, we need another doctor's note from you, go get one. Go get one. That is my advice to people on weather and safety leave. Say yes to things. Say yes to getting the internet. Say yes to teleworking. I heard about somebody who said, I can't telework because my house is very loud. And that is a mistake. That is a mistake. Do not do that. Because they are taking notes. And they're making a note of it when people say, I don't have internet, I can't get internet. They're making a note of that, and they might say, oh, this doesn't reflect badly on you, but we know that sometimes they tell us things like that, and it's not 100% true. So if they try to activate you for telework and you're on weather and safety leave, be grateful for the opportunity and take it. I know people think, well, I don't want to buy internet. Like, I don't want the agency to make me buy things. And I get that, but you're going to have to. You're going to have to. And that's what I have to say about that. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me. This has been a longish one. I just had some things I really wanted to address. I know people are really anxious, people are really bitter, people are really afraid, and my number one issue, and when I do get a chance to talk to Lori Mings, I'm going to tell her, hey, you need to do something about people that feel afraid, because you're not encouraging them, you're not making them feel safe, and you need to do something, because it's not my job to make them feel safe. And I don't know if she'll listen to me. It seems like she doesn't really listen to anyone, but I'm really interested in trying that. And more than that, everyone, there is a thing in the Action Center on nteu.org that is write members of Congress to ask them for hazard duty pay for employees in the building. And I've encouraged people to do this before, and I will keep doing so because I think it's really important. And that is just writing our members of Congress, because as it turns out, apparently, it seems the leadership of the agency doesn't want to give hazard pay to people working in the building. So writing to Congress is like going over their heads to their bosses. And so it's a good thing to do. It's a good thing for them to hear from us over and over again. Our local representatives and senators, they know they represent us. They know they want our votes. And if they do something for us, that could be meaningful, right? So I'm actually trying to get a senator to come see our building and see our working conditions. I don't know if I'll succeed, but that's what I'm trying to do, because again, we're having to go to the top, and maybe that'll change in a little while, but right now I feel like we have no choice but to go to the top and just go to these Congress people and ask them, hey, do this, please.